Kadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Yevamot Daf 181, Daf 100. The Gemara is speaking about now. If you remember, we were talking about Bishlam Achesh Shotev Ketan. I understand why we don't come and we don't give to Achesh Shotev Ketan when they come to the Goren, to the granary, because Lav B'nei Deyanu, because they don't have that, and therefore you're not going to give it to them in front of everybody. Tuntum Adroginos also the same thing. And Tuntum Adroginos also why? Because Bidia B'Fnatz Maninu, because these are, it's not a male, not a female, we don't know. The Tuntum, it's covered over, so we don't know what it is. And Adroginos says both. So Tunu Bidia. Eved Nami, also an Eved. Tilma Ati Lasukim, and Tumah Yuchasim, because we don't want them to bring up from Tumah to Yuchasim. Arel V'Tameh, Shudmise, also an Arel, which means the person that doesn't have a Brit Milah, or something that's Tameh, because they're disgusting. They're rejected to us. No saying Shasher, if somebody gets married to a woman, it's not proper for him. Shum Knasa, because of the Knas. Elayisha, but the wife of a Kohen, what's the reasoning? Why not? So please give it a power of Yeshua. Chadamar, one of them says Mishum Grusha, because maybe she got divorced and we're not going to find out about it. The Chadamar, one of them says because of Yichud. My B'nai, what's the difference between them? Because Yichud, she's going to come and all of a sudden, what are you doing here? I'm just getting food. And really, Be'emet, she's fooling around. Right? She's not getting food, she's getting food. Yeah? So he says, my B'nai, what's the difference between them? One of them, a place which is very close to the city, but there's not a lot of people. So if it's close to the city, everyone will know about a grusha, but they won't. But again, since it's not common that people are there, there's a problem of yichud. Or inami, or another answer, the menachak, it's very far away, so people don't know that she got divorced, but there's a lot of people there, so there's no problem of yichud. So for these are two different cases, one where there's a problem of yichud, but not a problem of grusha, or there's a problem of grusha, not a problem of yichud. Now you could always send to these 10 to their houses, except for a tameh and a person that's not say isha shenu gedelo. Except for somebody that's going to be tameh or somebody that gets married to a woman that's not proper for him. Aval, however, though, arel meshadin, they will send it to the arel's house. My tama, what's reasoning? Mishum danis, because he's honest. He's force majeure, right? Why? Because at the end of the day, he didn't do brit milah, not because he doesn't want to, because his brothers died of brit milah. So says the Gemara, tameh nami, and he's also tameh. He didn't want to become tameh. He was the force majeure. All of a sudden, somebody died. He just became tameh. So says the Gemara, no. Here he's got much more of an honest because it's takanah nefashot. Meaning here he's not doing brit milah because he could drop dead also. He's not going to do brit milah. But over there by the tameh, he could have been much more careful not to become tameh. An eved, a slave or a woman, we're not going to give them truma in the bet hakranot. When in a place where they do give truma to the women, first they give to the woman first. And then they get rid of her immediately, which means they tell her to leave. So that means even if they are going to give to a woman first, they always give women first, that way they can leave. There's not that she's going to say the last one. My kama, what does it mean? Hachi kama, that's what it means to say. A place where they're going to give maaserani, they're always going to give it to the woman first. Okay? So he says, my tama, what's reasoning? Mishum ziluta. Because there's much more zilzul in the poda isha, she has to wait, which means when a woman, also the same halacha applies to a woman collecting money for tzedakah. If a woman's collecting, there's much more of a zilzul. So since there's much more of a zilzul, you give her first. So that way there's much more. Right? That means there's different halachot. For example, we were just learning in Ilchot Gitin that it's much more difficult for a man to move his house from one place to another than a woman. Which makes sense, because the woman is in her house. It's not in the area. So you could just move the house. Okay, so now she's got a new house. But the man, he has to go to a new Bet Knesset, new work, new marketplace, new this, new that. He's the one that's always around. So it's much more difficult for a man to move than a woman to move. Now here, though, it's exact opposite. Here, to do with kavod, is much more of a ziluta for a woman to be collecting than for a man, and therefore you give it to her right away. Amar Rava says, when there used to be a man or a woman coming in front of you to the bedin, havasharina tigra de gavra bereisha, always used to do the men first, and then the woman. Amina, as I said, what? Men are obligated mitzvot. So since men are obligated mitzvot, I have to give the men first. Now that I just heard this right now, that you have to give the woman first in order that there's no ziluta, I would take care of the woman's plea first in order that my time, which means like this. One more time. Mitzad mitzvot in achanami, I would give the men first because they're obligated mitzvot, so you have to give them more kavod. Mitzad sheni, there's zilzul more for her that she's waiting around in the bedin. It's not nice. So because of that, you do the women first and then the men first. Okay, and then the men second. Okay, 2 dots. If the two grew up, these are the two mixtures, the two boys, whatever it is, you don't know who was the son of who was the slave and who was the the balabait, who's the actual coin. So shifredu, if right now they set them free, ibai in, ibai lo. Only if they wanted to set each other free. If not, no, by my wife. Because manavshach, since they are both a safek, they can't get married to a regular woman, and they can't get married also to a shifra. Why? What are they going to do? You understood? They can't get married to neither. So why? Because if maybe this guy is going to get married to the shifra, right? Maybe he's the Kohen. Can't get married to the shifra. This guy's getting married to the regular woman. Maybe he's the Evet. Can't get married to a regular. So that's why they can't get married to anybody. So Rabbi says, so why don't we force both of them to free each other? Because manasha, if whoever is the real slave will not become free. Okay? So that's what we actually say. Then we said, give them the chumrah of Kohanim and also Yisrael. Masevchta, what does that mean? Rabbi says the minchatam for the minchat nedava, nikmetzet. You have to do kemitza like a minchat Yisrael. Then it's not going to be eaten like a minchat Kohanim. Haketzad. What's the case? Hakometz karev etzmo. Usually, the one that's bringing the kemitza, he brings it himself by itself, and then the shidayim karev etzman. Then you bring it by itself, which means that's halacha to do with whether he's a Kohen or a Yisrael, because the mincha is mikmatz hakometz utar on mizbeach, because maybe he's a Yisrael. So therefore, that's what you also have to do. Okay, ikre kan. So therefore, it said here the general rule: kol shemimenu laishim hareu beval tatir. Anything which is going to be brought on the fire in the mizbeach, right? It's a sur latid chirav. You're not allowed to bring the shidayim. Okay, so if so, how could you bring then this on the shidayim, right? After you already brought the comments. So Amar Rav Yehuda bereder Shimon and Bazi, the masik lulu shemesid. No, you're bringing it up like wood. That means you're bringing it up as if to say that if it's going to be Minchat Yisrael, it's just like regular wood which is going on his beach. Like Rabbi Eliezer. The time we learned to write Rabbi Eliezer says, L'reach nichoa. What does it mean L'reach nichoa? You're not allowed to bring it up as a reach nichoa, but you're allowed to bring it up as wood. So since you're bringing it up as wood and also reach nichoa, there's no problem. So Hani Rabbi Eliezer, this is good according to Rabbi Eliezer. According to the rabbis, right, Michael, what are you going to say? Because you can't do this. So he says, Rabbi Elazar b'Shimon is doing it to Rabbi Shimon. Tanan Rabbi Elazar b'Shimon omer, hakometz karev latzmo. You have to bring the kometz by itself, and the shidayim is supposed to put it on beta deshem. And even according to the rabbis, what we live with Rabbi Shimon, they don't argue with Rabbi Shimon. Ella b'minchat choteh shel kohanim devat hakavayim. Only by minchat choteh of kohanim that you're supposed to bring it onto the mizbeach. But here, afilu rabbanan modu. Even the rabbis are going to say that after you brought the kometz to the mizbeach, you're going to put leftovers on the beta deshem. Mishnah on the bottom of Kufa Mudal. Imagine right now, this is the Mishnah that we brought down in the case of Shavuot night. Yeah, somebody that she did not wait from the separation of her husband for 3 months, and she got married, and she has a boy. The ena yaduana, we do not know. Im ben tisha l'rishon ben shiva l'achron, whether it's going to be 9 months from the first husband or 7 months from the second husband. Hayula banim min ha'rishon u banim min ha'sheni. She has children from both husbands. Okay. So what happens? So what happens is like this. 1 second. So one more time. So what happens now is that we have a doubt from where is the husband, from where is the child, from the first husband or the second husband. Now she has children from both husbands. So now if this child that we don't know who the father is dies, so now the brothers could only do chalitza, the same for him to them. That means if one of his brothers died, since maybe he's from the other father, so for he could also only do chalitza. Right? However, the what happens now, if this safek child has brothers from the first husband and the second husband, but not from the same wife. So one of them does chalitza, one of them could do yibum. One of the husbands was the Yisrael, and one of the husbands is a Kohen. No, say Kohen, he has to get married to a woman which is fitting for a Kohen. He cannot become a tamel mitim. Now, if he becomes tameh, he's not going to be sofegat arba'im. He cannot eat truma. If he ate, he cannot eat kerem v'chomesh. He's not going to be eating on the goren. Umocher, cannot take from the granary. Umocheret truma, he has to sell the truma, and the money belongs to him. He doesn't also take from the poor parts of the Beit HaMikdash. They don't give him kochim, but they can't take away from him because again he could sell it and he could keep the money. He's going to be patur from giving over the zor l'chai. Now his bechor has to graze until it gets a mum, and then he's allowed to shecht it and keep the meat. So he gets the chumrot also of Kohanim and also of Israelim. What happens now if both the husbands were Kohanim? So who onen alehem? He becomes onen from both of them, but they are not onen on him. Who eno metameh lahem? He cannot become tameh for them, right? And they do not become tameh for him. Who eno yirshim? He does not inherit them, and they don't inherit him. I'm sorry. Aval him yoshim oto, but they do inherit him. Upatur, and there's going to be patur this child on the hitting or the cursing of each father, because again we don't know who's the father. So he's going to be patur on the hitting of each father. Ole. He's allowed to go up on the mishmar of each one of them. And he does not divide, right, between the two of them. Okay, he doesn't divide, meaning he doesn't take all the different properties and he doesn't take all these things. Both of them were in the same mishmar. That's what we just did in today's daf, right? That he's going to take one chelik. Okay, says the Gemara. Gemara daf kuf amud bet. Okay. We're talking about dafka chalitza and then afterwards yibum. But you can never do yibum at the beginning. Why not? Because then you're permitting a yevama to go to the shuk, which means if you first do chalitza, if you did chalitza, so now the other one could do yibum. Why? Because if it's yibum, it's good. But if it wasn't going to be yibum, so then the other one already did chalitza. So now it's just getting married to somebody from the marketplace. It's okay. But if you first do yibum without chalitza, maybe it was the wrong yibum. So then right now, she just got married to somebody from the shuk and she wasn't allowed to. So first you always do chalitza, the one that's supposed to do chalitza, and then you always do the yibum. Amar Shmuel says, Asara kohanim omdim, upiresh echad mehem, ubaal havlat shtuki. Imagine right now you have 10 kohanim in one place, right? This is what we mentioned. Yeah, 10 kohanim in one place. And one of them separated, and he has relations with this woman, and we don't know who's the father, which kohen it was. The blood is considered a shtuki. My shtuki, what do you mean shtuki? If you're going to tell them that they're going to tell them be quiet from your father's properties, shita obviously. We don't know who the father is. He cannot come and demand, right, which father he's getting the properties from, meaning as an inheritance. They're going to keep him quiet in din kiuna. My time of what's reasoning. Says there's going to be for him and his children afterwards. We need that the children are going to be yuchas after him. And here, Leka, you don't have it. Meaning you don't have the children are going to be yuchas after him. Like Rashi says, we need that the children have to be nikar, they're his children. That's what it means. So Matki, Papa says, Gabe Abraham is written by Abraham. What is the Torah saying by Abraham Avinu? Your children afterwards. So he says, who tells him, don't get married to a goya or to shibcha. Don't get married to a goya or a shibcha because then the children are not after you. The children are going to belong to somebody else. So because of that, that's why he's saying don't do such a thing. Okay? So we're going to ask the following question. He said, 1 second. It says that let's say this woman came and you had a yavam, but she went with her yavama, right? And his yavama, and they didn't wait for the 3 months. So he says the first child, it could be like mamash, this child could be a kohen gadol. The habaina, but we need, like Shmuel says, zarom yuchas acharav leka. So says Gemara, no, zarom yuchas acharav is only a din rabbanan, and the krab is smachta b'alma. It's only such smach. And lechiga zurabanan, when did the rabbis make a decree? This snut, only on snut. But if it's going to be marriage, loga zurabanan, meaning there it was snut that one of the kohanim separated, and they had relations with this woman. It was promiscuity, it was snut. It wasn't marriage. Here it's a true marriage. So the rabbis did not make a decree by true marriage. They only made a decree by znut. So says the Gemara with Numi Zarabanan, the rabbis actually made a decree by znut. But now we learned in the Mishnah. Imagine if a person did not wait 3 months, a woman did not wait 3 months, and then she got married. And she has a child. Now what happens? What does it mean here after separating from her husband? Maybe you're going to tell me now it's after the death of her husband. So let's see the Sefer. He becomes on in on them, and they become on in on him. Bishama, I understand who on in on them, he's going to become on in on them. Mishkachla b'niswin, become with marriage. But likut atzamot, they also by likut atzamot the kama, or when they're collecting the bones. When they collect the bones from the father, they're going to move them to another place. Also, there's going to be on a nut. But how can they become on in on him? Kama hamitle. He says the first husband already died. So what does it mean then that he says that they're going to become on in on him? The first husband already died. That's why she got married to the second husband. So it says the same applies even if she got divorced and she didn't wait. What does it mean after husband? Which means after divorce, she also has to wait 3 months. She didn't wait for 3 months. She got married right away. So let's see the Seifa then. He cannot become tamei for them, and they cannot become tamei for him. Bishma, I understand they cannot become tamei for him, because each one could say that it's not his child, but he cannot become tamei for them. Why not? Bishma Lashmi, I understand the second husband, he cannot become tamei for him. Why not? Because maybe he's a Kohen Kasher, and the second husband is going to be a Kohen, which is not, because he just got married to a Grusha. But for the first husband, for sure, he could become tamei manashe. If it's his son, so he becomes tamei for him. And if it's the second son, then he's a halal anymore. Because the mother got married to Grusha, the father got married to Grusha. And if the father gets married to Grusha, then he's a halal, so he can become tamei for him. Elalav, but rather biznut, we're talking about znut. Umay achar ba'ala was named after her husband. Achar bo'ala, after the one that has relations with her husband. It's bo'ala, the one that has relations, not because it's really the husband. There's a question against Shmuel, because Shmuel said that a Kohen that comes from Yatznut, he's pasul for the korbanot, right? Even though it could be that he's 100% Kohen kasher, obviously this is a question against Shmuel. So Amar Rav Oshaya says, "B'mema'enet." Our Mishnah is talking about mema'enet. What's a mema'enet? Remember, a ktana, a minor, that the brother or mother got her married off, not the father, because if the father gets her married off, there's nothing to do. But the brother or mother got her married off, so then she could be mema'enet. She could renounce the marriage when she becomes bar mitzvah. So ask the Gemara, if she's a minor, how does she become pregnant? How does she give birth? Three women that are allowed to use contraceptives. A minor, right? A pregnant woman. Why ktana? Maybe she's going to die. She's going to become pregnant when she's a minor. She's going to die. She's pregnant. Maybe the second child that she's already pregnant, will destroy the first child. Maybe she's going to become pregnant. If she's already feeding, she's going to become pregnant, and then she's not going to have any milk left. And then what happens is that the child is going to die. So what is a ktana? From about until from 11 to 12. It's going to be less or more. She could have regular relations. These are the words of Rabbi. Chachamim say, whether it's a ktana or better to menikah, Meshameshet kedarka ve'olechet. She can have relations normally. Umin hashamayim yirachamim. From the shamayim they should have mercy on her. Shemar shomer petayim Hashem. So therefore, you see from here, right, that we cannot say that our Mishnah is talking about a ktana memayenet, because if not, then obviously she wasn't going to become pregnant. So mashkach Allah. So answer the Gemara. The kiddushet taut. We're talking about a kiddushin which was done by accident. What does that mean? Like Rabbi Shmuel, what does that mean over here? That she's not going, if she wasn't violent and she had relations willingly, right? So therefore, she's a surah al-bala. She's going to be burned. She's a woman that's married. If she's violated, she's permitted to her husband as long as he's not a Kohen. If she was not violated, obviously she's impure to her husband. There's another woman that even though she wasn't grabbed, she's still permitted to her husband. What case is that? Kiddushet taut, which means it was a mistaken marriage. Shafilu benabas, even if she has her child, which is on top of her shoulders, she's allowed to come and do miyun. Why? Let's say the kiddushin was done tonight. He makes a kiddushin. I'm going to get married to you on condition that every single month you're going to get $10,000 from me. And all of a sudden he never told it tonight. So it's kiddushet taut. So therefore, what happens in such a case, that it's going to be a mistake. And with this, we finish the daf of today. Have a wonderful day.